Hey friends, and welcome to Cait Casts On. If you're new here, my name is Caitlin, and I'm a knitter, spinner, sewist, and sometimes quilter based out of the Pacific Northwest. I have a podcast episode for you today with some knitting, spinning, and sewing, so grab your craft of choice, settle in, and let's get started. I hope you've had a good few weeks since my last podcast episode and since we last sat down together. For me, on my end, it's been quite a busy few weeks. I'm in the middle of testing for my very first knitting pattern, the Fable Socks. It's going really, really well. I'm very, very appreciative of all my testers' time and energy. Some of their feedback has been really informative, and I think it's going pretty well. So I'm excited about that. Some work stuff has been ramping up behind the scenes, and so I feel like mentally I've been being pulled in a handful of different directions, and I think that's kind of reflective in my knitting right now. I'm really craving a little bit more of the simple stuff lately, but still finding fulfillment in those kinds of projects right now, so I'm excited to share with you. Before we get into finished objects, I'll go over what I'm wearing. Today I have on my Maggie vest. This is a pattern by Petite Knit that I recently finished, maybe like a month or two ago, not too long ago. I knit this using Kelborn Woolen's Scout in the color Juniper Heather, and then I finished it off with these really lovely cork buttons that I think are just like the perfect little touch on top. This has been a really lovely transition piece as the weather is, a little bit chillier in the mornings but warmer in the afternoons. I feel like this is comfortable kind of in that weird temperature range. So it's been getting a lot of wear. And yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it. I would love to knit more with Scout in the future because this was my first time working with it. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to explore with that yarn potentially down the line. So now for finished objects. A little bit of a caveat today. My finished knitted objects, I have not had a chance to fully block. I finished them just a few days ago, and I knew that if I sat down and blocked them, they wouldn't be dry for recording today, so I did pause. But my first one that I have to share is my Cove Vest. This is a test knit that I just did for Sophie of the Knit Purl Girl. I believe this pattern / pattern update should be coming out in the fall. And it's going to be like an updated version of the full Cove Sweater, as well as this vest modification. And obviously I opted to test the vest modification. I knit this using Durare Natura Gilead in the color Allure Blue. It's this lovely, lovely kind of mid-tone medium blue. It's a bit soft. It's not too vibrant. And it has like a really nice like heathering effect a little bit where there has some kind of off-white speckles throughout. I think it's really lovely. This project did get a mid-project block, so really the only element that hasn't been blocked is in the body from like here to here. The ribbing hasn't been blocked yet, so I think that will probably look a little bit neater once that has been blocked. Like the ribbing on the neckline and the armholes turned out really well after blocking, so I'm expecting that to pretty much be the same for the hem there. Overall, this was a really fun project. I really, really enjoyed working with this yarn. I'm so excited about this yarn. This was also my first time using Gilead, and so I would love to really work this in this fall. I think this is going to be like a solid, staple favorite yarn for me moving forward. So I'm really, really glad that I tried it. I have most of my last ball of yarn left, so I could do something pretty fun with it still, I feel like. For reference, I did knit the size I in this pattern, and I used just over 3 balls of Gilead. So I feel like it was a pretty good use of yarn. I don't feel like that was a ton of yarn to go through, and this I feel like will be a very wearable object. This is definitely a different style vest for me. I've never knit a vest like this before, and granted, I haven't knit a ton of vests, period. This was my second one that I've ever knit. And like I said, I just finished it. So this is my third. And this one is designed to be more over the shoulder and just kind of generally oversized. And I think it will look really nice over like boxier, bigger, oversized tees and probably button downs as well. It has a little bit more breathing room in it than this one does. This one I think looks really nice like on its own like this, or also I have some just like slightly more true fitting tees. I think it looks really nice over that, but there's just like not a ton of positive ease in this one. So it does need something, if you're going to layer it over a shirt, it does need something that's a little bit more like true fitting, versus this one I think works really well over oversized tees with like longer sleeves. But yeah, I have a good number of those, so that works for me. And yeah, it was just a really nice process. I do need to like submit final feedback to Sophie still. Like I said, I just finished this like a day or two ago, and I haven't calculated like the official yardage for it yet. But overall, it was a really, really nice process. I really love the product that came out of it. And yeah, it was really fun to be a part of the test group for this. Overall, this was a really fun project to work on. It's at a pretty large gauge, so it really does fly by. This was never like a monogamous knit for me, so it took longer in general. But I think if this was the only project I was working on, I probably could have finished it in like 2 to 3 weeks. I used a US 9 for myself and for my project. I think the pattern calls for a US 8 or 5mm needle, and I just needed to size up a little bit to meet gauge. But yeah, it's a pretty large gauge project. It goes by pretty fast. It's for the most part, you know, stockinette, other than, you know, the finishes. But yeah, it's just a really, really nice vest. I'm excited to work it into my wardrobe. The back uses some really lovely increased details, just like the Cove sweater. I really love that detail on the shoulder. And really the only modification that I made to this throughout the entire process was I changed my bind off, which, you know, she mentions like you can sub in whatever bind off you want. So I don't know that it's technically a full modification or anything like that. The pattern recommends the Rook bind off, and I opted for the Hiya Hiya Grandma bind off. That was a method that I learned very recently in one of my most recent finished objects. And I really fell in love with that method, specifically for binding off a 2x2 rib. It's very, very quick. It just looks really, really clean and nice, especially for 2x2 rib, where, you know, you kind of have to rearrange stitches if you're trying to do a tubular or an Italian bind off. And I just feel like that doesn't always look the cleanest, trying to make that work for 2x2. So I really loved this method for 2x2 ribbing. And I definitely am glad that I continue to use that in this project. Like I said, I haven't, you know, fully blocked the finished garment yet, so the hem hasn't been blocked. It doesn't look quite as nice in the unblocked version, but I know that it will smoothen out with blocking, so I'm sure it'll be great there too. I'm sure this will get some good wear in the cooler mornings and evenings during the summer, and then just in the fall as well, as weather cools down generally. But I'm really excited to have this. I love this color. And yeah, the yarn was like truly a dream to work with. My next finished object is just a little project, but it also has not been blocked because I finished them last night. But these are just some very simple 3x1 rib socks that I knit using Zauberball Crazy. The color name for this yarn is in German, but the specific colorway translates to cinnamon roll, which I think is a very apt name for this yarn. I think it just really evokes like a lot of warmth and coziness, and feels very much like a cinnamon roll. I get it. It was a really lovely color to work with. I've worked with Zauberball Crazy a few times, and I do think that this is probably my favorite colorway. I just love all of the tones that it fades into. The socks do feel quite a bit different from each other, just how the colors worked out in the ball of yarn. This second sock that I did has a lot more just like general variegation in it, and is just generally more of this like magenta color than the first one. But that's totally fine. That's what you get with Zauberball socks, so that's totally fine. I do always end up having like a decent chunk of yarn left over from my Zauberball Crazies when I'm done working my socks. And someone mentioned a few episodes ago that I could try using the leftovers to knit a shift by Andrea Mowry, and I thought that was a really cool idea. But also, I think it was Erin from Coast to Coast. She either is doing it herself or she shared one of her customers is doing it. But they're using 2 balls of Zauberball Crazy and striping them in just little repeats. And I thought that that was really fun. And I think that could make an even more, you know, like crazy Zauberball Crazy sock and just kind of use up the leftovers. So I might do that. I think that would be quite fun. I really love this yarn for socks. It feels very woolly and like sturdy in a way that I feel like a lot of hand-dyed, superwash merino sock yarns don't, which those definitely, have their time and place too. I have plenty of socks knit up in those, but these just feel a little bit more hard wearing and yeah, are just really, really fun with all the color changes. So these socks in general were just a really nice project to have on the needles. Like I said, life has been kind of crazy and pulling me in a lot of different directions right now. So it's been really nice to just have a very simple project that's small and very portable. I can pick up and put down really easily without thinking too much about it. And yeah, it results in something pretty tangible and practical without too many hours put into it. So it just feels nice to have a win here. And yeah, I'm looking forward to blocking these and wearing them soon. My last finished object is a spin. I didn't have any progress on this last time, so it's been a little bit since you've seen this. But this is the yarn that came out of my braid of Malabrigo Nube in the color Procyon, I think is how it's pronounced. Just a really lovely, colorful skein of yarn with a lot of like aquas, some magentas, some navies, some sage greens in there, just lots and lots of color changing and variation. This was my first time using Malabrigo Nube, which is their 100% non-superwash merino fiber. I'd heard a lot of mixed reviews about it. I know there's been a good number of complaints and just like general feedback that the fiber often comes very compacted and is hard to draft. I think my braid in general, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't like the most fun thing ever to spin, but I also didn't hate it either. It was just kind of, it was okay. I could definitely see myself spinning it again in the future, but I'm not necessarily like gonna run out and go buy more of it. I definitely feel like I will pull for other things first and kind of use this as something just kind of in between projects where it's just fun and easy and I don't really have too much of a plan. That's definitely what this was. It was just, I need to spin something and I don't want to have to think about it. What's kind of a low pressure braid that I have that I'm not worried about. And it just kind of ends up as what it ends up as. And that's really fine. So that's what this was. And yeah, I think it's really fun. It actually kind of feels like a fade from another braid of Malabrigo fiber that I have spun in the past. Specifically, that one was Malabrigo Cloud, which is superwash. That one is very similar to this, but leans slightly more purple. So I was thinking maybe I could do kind of like a faded shawl or something like that. I don't know, using this and that. They're very similar weights. So I think that could work out potentially, but otherwise it was just nice to have just a spin on the wheel that I didn't have to think about too much. I wasn't too worried about the end result or trying to control it too much. It was just a good stress relief at the end of the day. So yeah, again, it's just nice to have a project that doesn't take too much time and it feels like a good win at the end of the day. So yeah. That is my latest spin. That's all I have for finished objects today, but I do have a good number of works in progress to share with you. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So quick outfit change. It's actually the next day. I was in the process of editing the footage and realized a chunk of my works in progress section got deleted. I had some technical issues with my camera battery and I really should have checked to make sure that all the clips were on the card, but I did not. So here we are. It's the next day, and I'm just going to quickly go over my first few works in progress, and then we'll hop back to the previous footage. So up first, I have my Marseille sweater. This is a pattern by Petite Knit, and I am knitting mine using knitting yarn DK from Purl Soho in the color Ivory Gray as my main color. And then as my contrast color, I'm using some handspun that I did last fall, which uses some fiber from Wee Chickadee. I used 2 different colors. It was combo spin. And it's just this really lovely, like dark, moody brown and blue. It's kind of hard to see on camera right now with my lighting, but it's just a very subtle, variegated kind of spin that just has a lot of really deep, lovely colors. And I thought that the Ivory Gray was a really nice complement for them. Since the last podcast episode, I have made a good amount of progress on this. Let's see. This stitch marker right here is where I was last time. So I finished the last little bit of my front panel and then joined in the round and worked a couple stripes. So a good number of inches, maybe like 4 or 5 inches. And then I also went ahead and did the ribbed collar just kind of when I ran out of one of my main color balls of yarn. I figured it was time to work on the collar. And I'm really pleased with how this collar came out. I think this is the neatest collar I've ever done. It like genuinely feels like store-bought machine knit. Like I'm really proud with the consistency of this ribbing. I did use combination ribbing for this neckline here, which I've been playing around with using more in my knitting, just kind of off and on as I feel like it. If you're not familiar, combination ribbing is like a process that allows you to use similar amounts of yarn for both your purl and your knit stitches, because traditionally purl stitches use a little bit more yarn, just how they're wrapped and worked. So you wrap your yarn the opposite way, theoretically giving you like a more even distribution of yarn and a more even ribbing. It is a little bit of a hassle because not only do you have to wrap the yarn like the opposite way for purl stitches, but you also have to then on the next round knit half of the stitches through the back loop. If you're working in the round, then you do the purls through the back loop, but if you're working flat, then you knit through the back loop. So it just depends. So it can be a little bit of a hassle, but the more I do it, the less of a hassle it feels like. So I've just been working it in more and more, and I have found that it definitely never makes my ribbing worse looking. It's either like the same or better. So yeah, as it becomes less of a hassle to work, I'm just doing it more frequently because if anything, it's going to improve the look of it. And that's what I did here, and I'm really, really happy with it. I'm sure the yarn has something to do with it as well. It just feels very even, consistent, very plump, and just really, really nice. I'm very happy with it. So at this point in the project, I need to do a little bit of a try on and make some decisions. I have some time, but as the pattern is written for my size, I'm supposed to have 5 of these stripes in the length of my body. And I'm currently kind of debating if I want to do that or if I want to shorten it to just be 4 stripes. And I'm leaning towards shortening it because this sweater is designed with a lot of positive ease. Typically, I size down a lot of petite knit patterns to give myself a little bit less positive ease because most of the time I don't want to be swimming in positive ease. But this time I decided I did want to try going for the full positive ease. But as you can see, as I like kind of lay it over my body, the drop shoulder is going to go halfway down my bicep. It's pretty oversized. I want to say there's like 10 to 15 inches in this pattern, and it really feels like that right now. And so I was thinking shortening it and making it more either like slightly cropped or at the very least like hitting just above my hip. I think that that will make it feel a little bit more intentionally oversized. And right now I think if I were to do 5 stripes, it might go a little bit longer than I want, but I do need to try that on to confirm it and probably do a mid-project block as well. So that's on my mind for the next, little bit of this project. And also, I will probably go ahead and pick up stitches and work most of my first sleeve at the same time, and then do a mid-project block at that point, just, the one time, so that I can make sure I like sleeve length. I can make sure that I know what I want to do with body length, and then we can, make some final decisions before we bind everything off. I am really enjoying working on this project right now. Like all of Petite Knit's patterns, it just feels very simple and straightforward. I've worked enough of her patterns over the years. She's pretty much what I started with, that following her patterns just feels like second nature. And so, yeah, it's just a very easy process for me right now, which is really, really great, for where my mind's at and what I'm feeling like I need from my knitting right now. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this, and hopefully I will continue to make good progress. It also feels really, really good to work with wool, even though it's warmer outside. The last like 3 or 4 years, I really have been doing quite a bit of summer knitting and then pulling out, my wool again in like September. And I don't know, I think this year is going to be kind of a sweater summer for me. I do have one other summer tee that I do want to knit using like summer yarns. But I don't know, I'm just really feeling the pull for more sweaters right now. So I think I'm just going to kind of go with my gut and do that if that still feels good. in a few weeks' time. My next work in progress is one that I mentioned in the last podcast episode, and it has seen a little bit of progress, but not a ton in the last few weeks. This is my leaf collecting shawl that I am working on. This is a self-drafted design, end-to-end shawl. So you start down here with just a really skinny little knitting section, and then you increase on one side. I'm either going to continue increasing till I hit a certain length or until I hit 50% of my yarn, whichever, I like better at the point that comes to, and then I will start decreasing and make a nice pointed shawl on either side. I am using a really fun lace motif in this one. I pulled a lace chart that I really liked from one of my Japanese knit stitch Bibles and then made some modifications to make it a little bit more of my own. But it uses a really nice leaf motif and then has a lot of seed stitch in there as well, which I absolutely love. And yeah, it's coming along pretty well, but I haven't made a ton of progress because this one is a little bit more involved than my other knits. I do need to have my chart open next to me while I work, and so it just feels a little bit more like mentally involved, which I haven't been pulling for those kinds of projects as much lately. I'm using some hand spun for this project. This is what inspired the whole thing, is this lovely little bit of yarn that I have. I spun this in December of last year, I think. This is using some fiber from Wonderland Dye Works, and it's merino and silk. So it has a really nice drape, and the colorway is called Leaf Collecting, which is why the shawl, I'm calling it my Leaf Collecting shawl. But it has, again, it's kind of dark, so I'm not sure how well it's going to show up, but it has some oranges, some rusts, some browns, some greens, some like aubergine purples in there. It's just really, really beautiful. I did a fractal spin, and it came out lace weight. So I thought a shawl would be a really good project for like a merino and silk lace weight 2-ply. Like I said, I haven't made as much progress on this one. This stitch marker right here is where I was the last podcast episode. So just a few inches, maybe like 3 inches of progress since then. It is really nice working this project with a color changing yarn. I'd say at this point, with like where my head's at, that is definitely the most motivating factor for me in this project, is just seeing all the color changing happen, especially as, the project gets wider and wider, the color changes are happening more and more frequently. And so it's just really kind of cool to see how it's transforming the look of the overall shawl. I said this last time, and I definitely think it's still true, that this is going to be a little bit more of a long-term project for me. I have just over 900 yards in this skein of yarn here. And so if I wanted to, use up the whole skein, that's quite a bit of knitting to go into this. I think at this point, I might have used like 30 grams. So really not very much. I could go on for a really long time. And so I am kind of assuming at this point, I'm not going to use the whole ball of yarn. I'm just going to knit it to a length that I like and then start decreasing. But I am expecting this to be a bit more of a long-term project to last through most of the summer, and just to kind of have something nice and lightweight and easy to work on if I'm, going anywhere. It's not too hard to pack this up at this point, and I don't anticipate that it's going to get so big that I wouldn't like bringing it with me places. It's more about just finding, the right time and place to work a lace chart and feel good about that. So yeah, it's just going to be kind of behind the scenes for the next few months, I'm sure, but I'm excited to have it as a finished object. This is such a special yarn to me. I absolutely love the colors. I really gravitated towards this braid in person at the Oregon Flock and Fiber Festival. And I really challenged myself with the spin to spin as thin as I could. And I got down to a lace weight and I'm just like genuinely really proud of it. It's very consistent. It was my first like official fractal spin where I was really paying attention to what I was doing there. It took a lot of time for me to spin this yarn because it is so thin. So yeah, it's just a really special yarn to me and I'm excited to have such a really cool and like unique piece that I've designed specifically for this yarn. Okay, so those are the projects that my little footage blip deleted. So back to Past Caitlin. My next work in progress is one that I actually just cast on this morning after I finished my rib socks last night. I was just kind of craving something very portable and simple. So I decided to cast on the golf club covers that I'm knitting for my brothers this summer. I'm using a free pattern from Purl Soho, so very easy to access. And I have knit this pattern before. I've made covers for both my dad and my father-in-law. So have proof of concept these work. And when I was visiting my family last month, my brothers requested very kindly that I make some for them as well. And so that is what I'm going to do. I let them pick out the yarn that they wanted. This first set is for my youngest brother, and they both picked Lang Yarns Merino plus color, just to kind of get a nice color changing fade as these are knit up. And this one is going to be, let's see, the 5 wood. Is that the smallest, I think, for golf clubs? It's the smallest one. I'm pretty sure it's a 5. Right now, it's just a very simple 1x1 rib, but you can kind of see if it will focus. The color change is starting to come out. It started as like more of a dark navy, and now it's getting into more of a light navy. And then obviously it will continue fading into all of these colors here. I am breaking from the pattern ever so slightly. It calls for actually 3 different needle sizes, and I just didn't feel like going out and buying all of those needle sizes in the 9-inch circulars the last time I worked them, and it worked out fine. So I'm just going to be using 2 different needle sizes, specifically a US 6 and a US 8. I'm skipping the US 5 needle. It's going to be fine. It's going to fit over the golf club cover just fine. But right now, to get started, you just do like 10 inches, I think, of 1x1 rib. So this is pretty mindless and straightforward at this point. And like I said, I just cast this on this morning and worked on it for a few minutes and have already made this much progress. So it's pretty quick and easy to see results. And yeah, I'm sure these will be done, relatively quickly. I do have another, set of this yarn in a different color for my other brother that I will also do after these. And I think it should be pretty quick because really it's about as, complex and time consuming as a single sock. So I think it will be pretty comparable there. So that's the golf club covers. It'll be fun to see all the colors transition into one another as I work this. And the 1x1 rib is a very welcome thing right now, so I will take it. I have one spinning work in progress to share, and it's going to be pretty short and sweet as well. This is some fiber that I got from Skagit Woolen Works in Washington. I actually got this last fall at Oregon Flock and Fiber Festival. I got 2 skeins of fiber from them at the time in their chocolate Romney lamb, and I have already spun up like that first hank of fiber that they had, and I got actually 2 skeins of this out of it, and it's really lovely. This was my first time doing a woolen spun yarn, and I took a quick break from it to do my Malabrigo Nube spin, and now I'm back to Skagit Woolen Works again. And it's really funny, like taking that stuff away, doing my normal short forward draft, kind of exercising that muscle memory, and taking a step away from woolen spun yarns and then coming back to it. I feel so much more confident and comfortable doing woolen spun. This first set was pretty much spun just letting twist in between my hands. I did occasionally try to like pull back and do a little bit of a long draw, but for the most part, it was just letting twist in between my hands. And like later through the fiber, I was getting more comfortable pulling back a bit more. This time around, I think I'm pretty much exclusively doing long draw. I don't know if it will make the most consistent yarn between the 2, hanks of fiber, but that's okay. I'm just enjoying the process, and it's really nice to feel like already a little bit more comfortable with just the muscle memory of doing woolen spun yarn. So yeah, it's been really nice. I did forget to like divvy out the fiber into like 2 plies before I started spinning. So I do need to figure out how much I should put on this first bobbin versus the second for the 2-ply yarn. I'll figure it out as I go, I guess. And yeah, I should be able to get another, 4 ounces of fiber for this. And then hopefully they're consistent enough across the, braids that I did that I can do something cohesive with all of it together. I was just feeling like I kind of wanted to use up the rest of the Skagit Woolen Works so that I can move on to some other things. And it just kind of felt weird that I'd only spun up half. So that's why I'm doing that, and hopefully they'll be consistent enough. I am using the same control card, but I am newer spinning woolen spun yarns, so I'm not the most consistent for sure, but I think I will be okay to be able to use them in a single project if I want. And yeah, it'll be really, really nice when it's done. And then, like I said in the intro, I also have a sewing project to share with you today. This was one that I kind of just started on a whim yesterday. I've had the fabric for a while and the pattern for a while. I just hadn't taken the time to start it, so I'm glad that I got to do that yesterday. This is the Sour Cherry shirt by Double Ugly Studios. This was very inspired by Tashi from Stitches in Starlight. This was on their like spring making plans list, and I absolutely loved this shirt design. So I immediately bought it and bought fabric for it. But it's just this really lovely raglan style short sleeve button up, collared button up. I think it's really, really cute. And yeah, I was able to make it through most of the sewing process yesterday afternoon. It was a pretty quick make. The only parts that I have left in this are the bottom hem and then just adding buttonholes and buttons. So pretty smooth sailing from here. I am using fabric from Matchy Matchy Sewing Club. I forget the exact name of it. I'll have it on screen, but it is just a block print that they have. And I did check and they do have it in stock as of the day I'm recording this video, which is Monday, June 1st. But it's just a really lovely, like true red base with these blue flowers and like this white overlay line work on top. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It's very, very lightweight. It's like a 2.4 ounce fabric. So very lightweight. I think it'll be great for summer. And yeah, it looks really cute on when I tried it on. I did make some very slight modifications to this. I added 2.5 inches of length to the body, just to make it fall at slightly above my natural hip. The base pattern is quite cropped, so I just wanted to make it a little bit more full length. And then I also shortened the sleeves by 1 inch. I wasn't sure that I was going to do that. I left the pattern piece, you know, as is, and then tried it on as I went. And if I would have left the sleeve at the length that was intended, it would have hit like just below my elbow, and that just felt a little bit long. So I cropped it 1 inch, and now it falls just above my elbow, and I feel like that looks a little bit better for the style of shirt that I want. But I really enjoyed sewing this up. This is not my first like collared button-up shirt. I've done a few of the Carl shirt by Sewing Machina, which is a long sleeve button-up. I enjoyed the process of sewing this so much more. It felt so much more like quick and easy. I think part of it is that it's a raglan. So you do the sleeves and like get all the major pieces of the shirt constructed very, very quickly. And it's like, wow, I'm flying through this project. And then it's really, you know, you finish off the sleeves. The collar is like slightly fiddly. It's the same process in the Carl shirt, so I'm familiar with how it goes. That was pretty much, you know, a 1-to-1, the same process. I think the hem will be a little bit easier just because it's not so oversized. It's just less fabric to hem, so I'm sure that will be easier. But I think honestly the biggest difference, other than the raglan, is the fact that I didn't have to do cuffs. I really don't enjoy doing the cuffs on the Carl shirt. So that was really nice just to be able to do like a standard hem on the sleeve and not have to worry about, you know, all the folds, the interfacing, the little buttonhole, all of that. Oh, and the pleats, there's pleats on the sleeve. So just like that one little change, I feel like made a huge difference in how much I enjoy the process of sewing it. I do still need to pick out some buttons for this guy. I think like some navy buttons might be quite nice, just some simple navy ones. I'm gonna go digging through my mother-in-law's vintage button stash and see what she has later today probably. I feel like something a little bit simpler since the print on the fabric is quite busy. But yeah, I think this will be a nice, again, quick win for me, and I'll really enjoy wearing this summer. That is it for works in progress today, and I have just a little few acquisitions to share with you, but I would love if you have experience carding wool and cotton specifically, if you could provide some of your expertise and experience down in the comments below, I would really appreciate it. So if you have been around the podcast before, you might remember that I got this really, really lovely Egyptian cotton from Tumalo Fiber. This is the color Aurora Coast. It's got some teal and aqua and purple in it, and it's just absolutely lovely. But I have never worked with cotton before. And so I'm feeling a little bit intimidated by it. The staple length on this is so short. And I was doing some just like initial research into it. And basically what I was gathering is that I should really card this and turn it into poonies and spin from that, and that will be easier. So that was kind of in the back of my mind, but I don't know how frequently I will work with cotton in the future, and I don't own hand cards in general at the moment. And so I decided to go ahead and buy some wool hand cards at 112 TPI to hopefully, like, that will work for wool, hopefully, like, moving forward, and also hopefully I can make it work with the cotton. Specifically, I'm hoping that it will work with cotton combined with some merino. So this is my acquisition that I got. Just a couple little things of merino wool. I actually got 2 in each color, so 4 total, to card together with my cotton and make kind of a merino cotton blend. And this is where, if you have any experience with this and have any resources you can point me to, or tips or advice or anything, I would really, really appreciate it, because I feel like I'm venturing out into the deep end of the swimming pool and I don't really know what I'm doing. And I'm okay making some mistakes. I know it's going to happen, but some guidance in general would be very appreciated. But yeah, I'm waiting for the hand cards to get delivered. They were back ordered, so I should hopefully be getting those in a few weeks. But I am going to attempt to card these together to make poonies to spin from. So if you have any experience with that, definitely let me know. I think I probably will start hand carding with some wool that I don't care about so much, just to like get a feel of the movement and the process, and make some rollags or whatever from that. And probably not start with the cotton that is scaring me a little bit. But yeah, it's just going to be kind of a really fun learning curve. I'm excited to learn a new skill. I'm excited to have a tool in my arsenal that I can use if I want to do any, you know, different fiber prep, or maybe like blend some colors together a little bit. I think that will be really fun. I've never spun from poonies or rollags before, so it's just like a whole new world out there, but I'm really looking forward to giving it a shot. So like I said, if you have any tips, definitely leave them in the comments below. It could be videos, it could be courses, it could be blog posts. I don't care. Anything you want to point me to would be greatly appreciated. So with that, that is everything I have to share with you today. I hope you had a nice time sitting down and chatting with me, and that you found a lot of joy in whatever you've been working on. You can always come over and say hi to me on Instagram or Ravelry. My username is CaitCastOn in both of those places, and they're linked in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, if you could take a second to like the video and subscribe to the channel, that really helps me out and helps new people find me. I hope you have a great rest of your day and week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.